So now we're going to talk about, again, first plays that created musicals. And we're going to start with A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which were based on the plays of Plautus. Bert Shevelov came to Stephen Sondheim with the idea of writing words and music for a play based upon these old Roman comedies. And Sondheim jumped at the chance because this is what he always wanted to do, was to write words and music, not just lyrics. So A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum lumbers its way into Washington. Sondheim has now written two opening numbers for it, and audiences are walking out of the National Theater in droves. They just don't get it. Georgia Abbott, who is directing it, doesn't understand what's wrong with it, and he sends for Jerome Robbins, which is also another problem because Jerome Robbins named names in the House Un-American Activities trials in the McCarthy era, and Zero Mostel and his co-star Jack Gilford were both people whose names were named during this very, very challenging time. When Jerome Robbins arrives on the scene, Zero Mostel actually wants to quit, but his wife reminds him his career really needs him to do this and to just put up with Jerry Robbins. They never spoke. They only talked through intermediaries, and it were these intermediaries that finally convinced Mostel to give a great performance. But it was Robbins who says to Sondheim, it's the opening number that's wrong. You have to write a new opening number and let people understand that this is an evening of low humor, burlesque humor, and crazy comic antics. Well, the script and the music don't really match and requires exactly the opposite of what Oscar Hammerstein taught him, that every song is a one-act play, that they're supposed to have a development and a relationship with the character. But instead, they're kind of flatline pieces, which Sondheim admits today is the biggest frustration because the characters are just not multidimensional. They all have one-line personalities, like the conniving slave, the mean mother, the young kid. And Sondheim felt this whole show was like savor the moment songs rather than music that develops the character in ways that are really something. He said in writing for a farce, quoting this, farces are like express trains and musicals are like locals. But anyone who's ever taken on the part of Pseudolus, the lead, has won a Tony for it. It's an extremely rewarding role. And this, of course, is Nathan Lane from the mid-90s revival.
I bid you welcome. The theater is a temple, and we are here to worship the gods of comedy and tragedy. Tonight, I am pleased to announce a comedy. We shall employ every device we know in our desire to divert you. Something familiar, something peculiar, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Something appealing, something appalling, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Nothing with kings, nothing with crowns. Bring on the lovers, liars, and lies. Old situations, new complications. Nothing portentous or polite. Tragedy tomorrow, comedy tonight. Something convulsive, something repulsive. Something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Something aesthetic, something balletic. Something for everyone, a comedy tonight. Nothing with gods, nothing with fate. Weighty affairs will just have to wait. Nothing that's formal, nothing that's normal. No recitations to recite. Open up the curtain. And now, the entire company. Something familiar, something peculiar, something for everybody. Comedy tonight. Something that's bawdy, something that's bawdy. Something for everybody. Comedy tonight. Nothing that's grim. Nothing that's grief. She plays Medea later this week. no Trojan horse, and a happy ending, of course. Goodness and badness, man in his madness, this time it all turns out alright. Friday tomorrow, comedy, 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 tonight.
Of course, that opening number changed the whole tone of the show. What it did was explain to the audience right up front what they should expect, what was going to happen, and the result was the audience seemed to love the play. It's probably the most successful in its initial runs of all of the Sondheim musicals. And, you know, today it's a different sort of musical than the one that he is known for, since 1970. But, certainly this changed everything. Here's another satirical moment done by the BBC Proms, which does concert versions of musicals in London at Albert Hall.
Maids like me. I'm neat. I like maids. They're neat. Something no household should be without. Everybody ought to have a maid.
Everybody ought to have a maid.
Everybody ought to have a working girl. Everybody ought to have a lurking girl to putter around the house.
Everybody ought to have a maid.
Everybody ought to have a maid.
Everybody ought to have a menial, consistently congenial, and quieter than a mouse.
Oh, wouldn't she be delicious, tidying up the dishes, neat as a pin?
Oh, wouldn't she be delightful, sweeping out?
Sleeping in. Everybody ought to have a maid.
Everybody ought to have a
Someone
maid.
whom you hire when you're short of help, to offer you the sort of help you never get from a spouse.
Fluttering up the stairway,
Shuttering up the windows,
cluttering up the bedroom,
buttering up the master,
puttering all around the house.
Oh, wouldn't she be delicious, tidying up the dishes, neat as a pin?
Oh, wouldn't she be delightful, sweeping out?
Sleeping in. Everybody ought to have a maid.
Everybody ought to have a
Someone
maid.
who when fetching you your slipper will be winsome as a whippoorwill and graceful as a grouse.
Skittering down the hallway,
Flittering through the parlor,
tittering in the pantry,
lifting up the bedroom,
puttering all around the house. A maid,
a maid,
a maid,
a maid. Everybody ought to have a maid. Everybody ought to have a serving girl, a loyal and unswerving girl who's quieter than a mouse. Oh, think of her at the dustbin, especially when she's just been traipsing about. Oh, wouldn't she be delightful living in, giving out? Everybody ought to have a maid, tidily collecting bits of paper and strings, or peeling in her apron strings, beguiling in her blouse. Pattering through the attic, shattering in the cellar,
clattering in the kitchen,
flattering in the bedroom, puttering all around the house. Everybody ought to have a maid. Someone who's efficient and reliable, obedient and pliable, and quieter than a mouse. wouldn't she be so nimble, fiddling with a thimble, making a gown? Oh, oh, wouldn't she be delightful, cleaning up, leaning down? Everybody ought to have a mate, someone who's as busy as a bumblebee, and even if you grumble, be as graceful as a grouse. Wriggling in the anteroom, jiggling in the living room,
Giggling in the dining room,
wiggling in the other rooms, puttering all around the house.
Well, that song's not exactly right for the Me Too movement, but it is great in the context of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Pure satire. And remember, the whole story is based upon courtesans and all kinds of antics. So, it's what it is. But this is the kind of music that made A Funny Thing Happen on the Way to the Forum into the success. Well, another play that made it into a musical was the Clifford Odets play Golden Boy, the play that was symbolic of a different kind of an era. And Clifford Odets, his plays have really gone out of fashion. But if you'll notice who was in it at the time, Elia Kazan, Luther Adler. It was a play that was very well known. It was made into a movie with William Holden, and the idea of taking it and making it into a vehicle with Sammy Davis Jr. and setting it in Harlem really seemed to be a great idea. The only reason it ran was because of Sammy Davis Jr. I mean, this was in the 1960s when the idea of a black musical was new, and Sammy Davis Jr.'s charisma drove it.
I live in a pretty swinging neighborhood. It's 127th Street and 7th Avenue. Now, this neighborhood ain't no different from anybody else's neighborhood. Same type of things, same type of problems. We enjoy putting each other on. We have our own sense of humor. These two cats here, these are the put-on artists. They can do it better than anybody on the street. Let me introduce you to some of the other people. This fella here, this is Garrett Howard. He plays my brother in the show. He's a civil rights worker. This lady here, this is Janet Dubois. She plays my sister. And this fella here, well, he's probably one of the biggest talents around. His name is Johnny Brown. He plays my brother-in-law. Oh, so I'm going to have him arrested for stealing this number every night, because it's his number. If you got nothing else to do, come on down to 127th Street, will you?
Hey, Ronnie. What's this I hear about your brother-in-law being in the fighting business? Chicken Jim! Right here in the paper. He's supposed to be some kind of big-time boxer, huh? Gonna make our neighbor. Hey, John, you on your feet. Hey, give him the business. Come on, no. Come on, baby, come on. When you're downtown and you're sipping champagne with your high-class friends, don't forget this glorious environment which molded your character. Yeah. Don't forget your roots. Ha, ha. Don't forget 127th Street. Don't forget your happy Harlem home. Don't forget 127th Street. No, siree, there's no slum like your own.
I remember winter evenings up at the window, watching those evictions in the snow.
Oh, no joke. Don't forget 127th Street. A little bit of pepper. Wherever you may go. Don't forget the cultural life on this here street. Really? Where you play the numbers every day. Heart the cheerful patter of all those junkies' feet.
And the quiet voice of Cassius Clay.
Oh. Each night we hasten to our spotless subway. Riding home is always such a treat. Don't lose that. Don't forget your beautiful home and take her home. An angel leaving home. Come on to 7th Street. Come on,
Hey, Ronnie. Huh? Ronnie, you know something? Huh? You are the only colored cat I know that can't dance at all. Letting the whole race down. Come here. Can I ask you something? I know you've been saving your money and everything, and you got a vacation coming. Have you decided where you're going to spend your winter vacation?
Yeah, I'm going to Florida.
Why'd you decide to go to Florida?
Well, because every day I'm sitting there in my easy chair, now watching the television. Go ahead. And notice a friendly fella say, "Hi there, come on down."
And the cops all strolling 2 by 2.
Oh, no, get 127th Street.
Don't ride the subway.
Whatever you may do.
Don't forget 127th Street.
My goodness.
Here you were born and raised and fed. Keep it nice up, baby. You always smile so sweet.
When the falling plaster hit my head. But when I'm riding in my big Ferrari, just rich chick as my pet. Well, if you think I'll miss 127th Street, come over here, everybody. I'm gonna miss this street every chance I get.
Don't forget a glorious BS-42. It's about as cozy as a jail. Radiator is full of fun, so it's your through. That'll make you really feel.
Ho, ho, ho.
Hey, it's for the Halloween they sell here.
A is for the alleys where kids play.
R is for the rats that run pell-mell here.
L is for our landlord, who's always away.
E is for the endless cleanup project.
And M, Ronnie M is for the moldy rooms above.
Put them all together, they smell.
Come here. Yeah, you, come here. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. You ain't ready. And if you step on my foot one more time.
One more time.
All right, more time. That means the place that white folks think we love. Well, yes.
127th Street. 127th
Oh, yeah. Like that. Wind it up,
all alone and feeling mighty blue. We don't need a pot of gold, just don't take our rent control. Navy beans upon my plate, home relief is really great.
The neighborhood is classy. We got rats as big as last.
Well, it's not a musical that you would see today. I mean, you can see the style of it and some of the humor that would really just be uncomfortable today's world. But it was a success at the time, again, because of Sammy Davis Jr. and his personality, the story of a prize fighter. Well, Another play that turns into a musical, and again, the Kennedy assassination sank so many new performances in 1964, but the play The Rainmaker, that was a movie then with Katharine Hepburn about a spinster daughter living in the drought in Oklahoma, and this con man who comes to town, sort of a version of Harold Hill, but not nearly quite as exciting. The score by Schmidt and Jones, really was a beautiful score, but they added all kinds of things. As often what happens in these musicals that are made from plays, they add things just to open the story up that do not help it really at all. And Audra McDonald revived this, about 10 years ago, and this was from the Tonys of that revival.
Our second musical, nominated for Best Revival, takes place in a drought-stricken western town and centers around a headstrong girl, Lizzie, whose love life is as dry as the weather. In this number, she imagines with her father what life would be like as a bawdy woman of the world. Here are Tony winners Audra McDonald and John Cullum in 110 in a Shade.
Well, go down to the social club and be Lily Ann Beasley. Is that what you want?
Well, Lily Ann Beasley knows how to get along.
Well, call him up. Tell him you want to join up.
Oh, well, fine, I will. No, I will. Wait, you see if I won't, I will. I'll go down to the Dixie Pig Roadhouse and I'll buy myself a bottle of beer and I'll go juking every night. I'll buy myself a brand new dress that's cut way down to here.
Oh, Lizzie.
I'll buy some dime store diamonds and pierce them through my ear.
I'd like to see that.
I'll paint my mouth rosy red. I'll pour peroxide on my head. No, I'm not doing that. No. I'll knock them poor old cowboys dead.
Elizabeth.
What, you don't believe me?
No.
Well, you just watch. I'll be so raunchy, dancing in my pink and green satin, feeling like a queen, wearing Maybelline. I'll be so raunchy, gonna make them other gals turn green. When the cowboys see me strut my stuff, gonna throw right on their haunches, 'cause they just can't seem to get enough. I'm a raunchy kind of gal.
They're going to put you in jail.
Yeah, and they gonna give you the key, Pop.
What?
Well, Audra McDonald, I mean, can you believe what she can do? Well, here are some more. The most famous, maybe, of the era is the fact The Matchmaker, a play that originally started in London, a rewrite of a Thornton Wilder play called The Merchant of Yonkers. Directed by Tyrone Guthrie at the time, and Ruth Gordon, who was in it in London, insisted when David Merrick was going to bring it, he had to bring the entire cast with him, with her, or she wouldn't do it. And David Merrick also retained the future rights to turn this into a musical. The most significant change in the play was that a minor character whose name was Dolly Levi becomes the central character in The Matchmaker. And what we know in The Matchmaker, what we don't know in Hello, Dolly, is how Dolly knows Horace Vandergelder, and she was the first Mrs. Vandergelder's best friend. And of course, the whole thing is satirical and made up with all kinds of crazy circumstances.
Oh, hello there. Are all of you people married? That's nice.
That's Academy Award winner Shirley Booth as the mixed-up Miss Fix-It in Paramount's wild and funny screen version of Thornton Wilder's Broadway comedy hit, The Matchmaker. And here's another Shirley you'll be seeing a lot of.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
It's that wonderful redhead, Shirley MacLaine. And look who's interested in matchmaking with her. Young Tony Perkins, in his first starring screen role since his New York smash hit in Look Homeward, Angel.
Oh, you can talk all you want to about Niagara Falls and the pyramids, but oh, they're not in it at all. Women are so different from men.
And all of you who laugh at Sergeant Bilko know Paul Ford, the stuffed shirt colonel.
99% of the people in the world are fools, and the rest of us are in great danger of contagion.
Yes, here he's even funnier as the girl-chasing, penny-pinching Mr. Vandergelder.
What were we all talking about? Well, now. God bless you. Yes, there is a man in there.
Yes, the pace never lets down for an instant when these four climb on the merry-go-round of romance. Confidentially, they're having a ball. And before these hilarious characters get straightened out, you'll be having the biggest ball of all.
Well, so that was the forerunner of what becomes Hello, Dolly. And of course, Hello, Dolly was not going to be called Hello, Dolly. It was originally called Dolly Levi, a Very Exasperating Woman. And it was not written for Carol Channing. It was written for Ethel Merman, who literally just was too exhausted to do it after her 3 years in Gypsy. But what happened next is they offered it to Mary Martin and then to Nancy Walker. They offered it to Nanette Fabray, but Nanette Fabray refused to audition. And Hello, Dolly then, by a quirk of fate, becomes a role for Carol Channing. They see her performing in a summer stock production of a play called The Millionaires, and everybody involved, Jerry Herman, David Merrick, they all liked her, except the only one who didn't was Gower Champion, who was going to direct it. However, she was not to be deterred, and she made sure that she was going to get this part, auditioning for Gower Champion after a dinner she invited him to for 7 hours until 4 in the morning. She auditioned non-stop. But of course, the idea of Carol Channing, it elevated her career. It made something that she did for the rest of her life and endeared her to everyone. Yes, of course, now I'm showing you Pearl Bailey. Well, there were a whole long line of Dollys. And one of the interesting facets of this was when they decided when the run was petering out by putting Phyllis Diller in the role and not getting a lot of success, that the next person they went to was Pearl Bailey. They made it an all-black version, which really gave it a running start midway through its run.
Ephraim, let me go. It's been long enough, Ephraim. Every evening for all these years, I've put out the cat, I've locked the door, I've made myself a hot rum toddy. And before going to bed, I said a prayer, thanking God that I was independent. No one else's life was mixed up with mine. And then one night, an oak leaf fell out of my Bible. I placed it there when you asked me to marry you. A perfectly good oak leaf. But now without life and without color. And I suddenly realized that I was like that leaf. For years I had not shed one tear, nor had I been filled with that wonderful hope that something or other would turn out well. So Ephraim, I've decided to rejoin the human race. And I want you, Ephraim, to give me away. Before the parade passes by, I want to get in step while there's still time left. Before the parade passes by.
Mrs. Levi, come along. Cornelius is taking us down to see the 14th Street Parade. Everybody will be marching.
Oh, Irene, you're crying.
Oh, Dolly, the world is full of wonderful things. Come with us, Dolly.
I will, Irene. I will, Irene. Before the parade passes by, I got to go taste Saturday's high life. Before the parade passes by, I've got to get some life back into my life. I'm ready to move out in front. I've had enough of just passing by life. With the rest of them, with the best of them, I can hold my head up high. I've got to go again, I've got to drive again, I've got to feel my heart coming alive again before the parade passes by. Look at that crowd over there, listening here. The whistles blow and the cymbals crash and the sparklers light the sky. I'm gonna raise the roof, I'm gonna carry on. Give me that old trombone, give me that old baton before the parade passes by.
When the parade passes by, listen and hear that brass harmony going. When the parade
And of course, the real number that everybody looked forward to in the second act. This is the way Hello Dolly got named Hello Dolly, because when Louis Armstrong recorded this, they realized that they had the wrong name on the title of the play. And Jerry Herman came in and said, "You've got to hear this." They realized that they were making a mistake, calling it Dolly Levi, a very exasperating woman, and changed it to Hello Dolly.
Oh, these shoutings. How many times have I told you not to shout? This is Harmonia Gartenschwester, not one of all.
But, sir, she's here. The lady.
What? Are you sure, boy?
Like you told me, sir. 8 o'clock on the nose. Up pulls the carriage and out steps the lady in a red dress.
Did she? Mrs. Levi, she's back.
No! Isn't true. I hear laughing outside the kitchen window. And it's time to the lady.
It's Dolly. Quick, tell the man. She just stepped out of a carriage. No! It's true, no! It's true, yeah! After 10 years, oh, Rudy, it's like old times again.
She's here!
And of course, that was Bernadette Peters in the revival 2 years ago. Another musical that was based upon a play and then merely a movie was the Hungarian play The Parfumery, that you may know as the movie The Shop Around the Corner. But it was made into a delightful musical, one of my favorites, about the people who work in a perfume store, and the head clerk belongs to a Lonely Hearts Club, writing letters to someone that he adores, only to find out that he's working alongside of her and that he really hasn't been able to stand her since she's been there. But truly, when he discovers it, he finds out how wonderful that relationship really could be. So, She Loves Me, 1963, and this was The Shop Around the Corner that came first.
There you are. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to introduce myself. I am Mr. Matuchek of Matuchek and Company, the shop around the corner. Now, if you'll be kind enough to take a look at the window, you'll see that we sell some very nice things. Of course, my shop may be a little far away for some of you. It's in Budapest, Hungary, just around the corner from Balta Street. But I'm sure that the bargains you get here will more than make your trip worthwhile. It's the kind of a shop where you get a $3.50 value for $3.48. And now, with your permission, I would like to introduce you to some of the people who work in my shop. First, I'd like you to get acquainted with my head salesman, Mr. Kralik, played by James Stewart. Yeah, I can buy 24 of these cigarette boxes at Miklos Brothers. What do you think of it? I think it's great. Well, open it.
No, Mr. Matuchek, it's not for us.
But you haven't listened to it. It plays Oji Chornia.
Even if it played Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, I'd still say no. No, I just don't like the idea.
My first sales lady is Clara Novak, played by the very charming Margaret Sullivan. She argues, too.
Listen, I sold as much goods yesterday as anybody else in the shop. 95 Pengo 50 isn't bad for a rainy Monday 3 weeks before Christmas. Did you tell that to Mr. Matuchek?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
He said tell her not to come in that blouse anymore.
Tell him I won't.
I will.
Now, I want you to take a look at Mr. Perovich, played by Felix Bressard. He was one of the Russian comrades in Ninochka. He's the typical sales clerk who is always 10 minutes early.
Perovich, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
No, go ahead.
It's very confidential.
Yeah, sure.
Suppose a fella like me wants to get married.
Well, that's wonderful. That's the best thing that could happen to you. Where's the girl?
Oh, wait a minute. What'd I say? I said suppose. I said a fella like me. I didn't say me. Now, look, how much does it cost you to live? You and Mrs. Perovich, leaving out the children.
Oh, why fool yourself?
And now, I have a real treat for you. You are to meet the Beau Brummel of the shop, Mr. Vadash, played by Joseph Schildkraut. Everybody wonders where he gets the money to dress so elegantly. He certainly can't do it on the salary he gets from me. And no shop is complete without an errand boy. Meet Pepe, played by William Tracy.
Mr. Clark, do you think I have to work tonight, too? After all, I'm a child.
No, you don't have to stay.
You mean it?
I'll straighten it out with Mr. Matuchek.
Thanks, Mr. Clark.
So now you go to see your girlfriend. By the way, is it serious?
Yes, very.
Maybe we'll both be engaged Monday.
I think we will.
I don't want you to misunderstand me. I just said in my case it might happen.
Well, as a matter of fact, I can tell you it will happen.
I thought you were a customer. I should have known better. However, every disappointment has its bright side. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Ernst Lubitsch, our director. The man who gave you a Garbo in Ninochka who made you laugh, and who now gives you a Morgan who makes you laugh.
I hope.
Yes, I hope so, too, in The Shop Around the Corner.
And that became She Loves Me.
Dear friend,
want me ice cream, vanilla ice cream. Imagine that ice cream, and for the first time we were together without a spat. Friendly, he was so friendly. That isn't like him. I'm simply stunned. Wonders never cease. Wonders never cease. It's been the most peculiar day. Wonders never cease. Wonders never cease. So, where was I? I am so sorry about last night. It was a nightmare in every way, but together you and I will laugh at last night someday. I sat there waiting in that cafe and never guessing that you were fat. Ooh. That you were near. You were outside looking bald. Oh my! Dear friend, I am so sorry about last night. Last night, I was so nasty. Well, he deserved it, but even so, that George is not like this George. This is a new George that I don't know. Somehow, it all reminds me of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But right before my eyes, a man that I despise has turned into a man I like. It's almost like a dream, and strange as it may seem, he came to offer me ice
And of course, She Loves Me is just a wonderful gem of a musical. Another musical that came from a straight play was Noel Coward's Blight Spirit, the story of a murder mystery writer his first wife has died. He has remarried, and he's writing a mystery that uses a seance, so he hires a medium to show him what a seance could look like. She conjures up the dead first wife, who plots to bring him along with her by killing him, but unfortunately she kills the second wife, and they both come back to haunt him. Another musical that was based upon a play was The Time of the Cuckoo, starring Shirley Booth at the time, the story of a spinster school teacher who goes off to Europe looking for something exciting in her life. She comes across a married man who she doesn't realize is married, and, you know, the lies that he creates for her. However, she then comes alive because of that. Well, this then created the musical Do I Hear a Waltz, where Stephen Sondheim had promised Oscar Hammerstein on his deathbed to work with Richard Rodgers one day in the future. And it was all totally miscast. Richard Rodgers produced it as well as writing the music, and no one got along, and everybody thought that they were out to get Richard Rodgers. Well, at least that's what Richard Rodgers thought. And Sondheim, to his credit, he was always abused by Rodgers in this process, stuck with it out of debt to he felt was his career. Richard Rodgers was a bitter, sour man at this point in time. He had survived throat cancer, learned how to talk again, and he was a very difficult person to work with. Sondheim and Rodgers just really never really mixed. Rodgers was well past his prime. Sondheim was up and coming, and he was convinced that Sondheim was out to sink him. None of it was really true or accurate. Rodgers just became paranoid, and no one was willing to listen to anybody because Richard Rodgers was in charge. And Arthur Lawrence, who wrote the original script, was having a difficult time with Richard Rodgers because he was directing his own piece. All of it becoming a miserable experience for everybody. City Center Encores did it not too long ago, and the reviews of it were it's a far better musical than anybody associated with it wanted to remember.
Do I hear a waltz? Very odd, but I hear a waltz. There isn't a band, and I don't understand it at all. I can't hear a waltz. Oh my Lord, there it goes again. Why is nobody dancing in the street? Can't they hear the beat? Magical, mystical, miracle. Can it be? Is it true? Things are impossibly lyrical. Is it me? No, it's you. I do hear a waltz. I see you and I hear a waltz. It's what I've been waiting for all my life to hear a waltz. Do you hear a waltz? Oh my dear, don't you hear a waltz? Such lovely blue Danube music, how can you be still? You must hear a waltz. Even strangers are dancing now. An old lady is waltzing in her flat, waltzing with her cat. Roses are dancing with peonies. Yes, it's true. Can't you see? Everything suddenly Viennese. Can't be you. Must be me. Do I hear a waltz? I want more than to hear a waltz. I want you to share it, 'cause oh boy, do I hear a
I Hear a Waltz, written by Sondheim, and another great number written by Sondheim, performed at one of the birthday celebrations that Sondheim was honored with.
Our next song is from Höre ich eine Walzer. I'm sorry. Do I Hear a Waltz? With music by Richard Rodgers. These original lyrics are a little naughtier than the ones that actually ended up in the show. And here to sing it for you is the naughtiest couple on Broadway, Marin Mazzie and Jason Daniely.
Honey Bunch, sad to say, but I have a hunch. Screen romances went out to lunch. That's no reason to pout. Don't look bleak, happy endings can spring a leak. Ever after can mean 1 week. We're just having a drought. Smile and sweat it out. If we can just hold on, we'll have compatibility. No need to worry, we're gonna be all right. One day the ache is gone, there's nothing like senility. So what you hurry, we're gonna be all right. Meanwhile, relax, I'll take a lover, you take a lover. When that's played out, they'll get the axe. We can retire, sit by the fire, fade out. We'll build our house upon the rock of my virility. We better scurry, we're gonna be all night. Oh boy, we're gonna be all right.
I was told, just be faithful and never scold. Sounded easy, so I was sold. I've been miserable since. I was taught when a prince and a dragon fought that the dragon was always caught. Now I don't even wince when it eats the prince. I know the perfect pair, their lives are at the pinnacle. But how do we know they're gonna be all right? The bride is slightly square, the groom is slightly cynical. A little vino, they're gonna be all right. She aims to please, she has a baby. Then though they may be having fine times, when there's a crease, she has another. Now she's a mother. 9 times it all went wrong, but where? Details are slightly clinical. She's out in Reno, the kids adore the flight. Hey ho, they're gonna be all right.
Things will heal. I know couples who look ideal. They no longer know what they feel. They've been practicing charm. All is well, at least as far as their friends can tell. Please ignore the peculiar smell. There's no cause for alarm. Mildew will do harm.
What if her brain is dead?
What if he's ineffectual?
They look delicious, they're gonna be all right. They both go right to bed when they feel intellectual. No one's suspicious, they're gonna be all right. Who's on the skids? She'll go to night school.
If it's the right school, he'll permit her.
They love their kids, they love their friends too.
Lately, he tends to hit her.
Sometimes she drinks in bed.
Sometimes he's homosexual.
But
why be vicious?
They keep it out of sight. Good show, they're gonna be all right. And so, we're gonna be all right. Hey ho, we're gonna be all right.
And we're going to end today talking about really one of the best, Auntie Mame, the wonderful story of a widow, of an avant-garde man who raises her orphan nephew when her brother suddenly dies in the 1920s, was originally created by Rosalind Russell. She gets an Academy Award nomination for it, and here was a sample of that.
Edna, I called you yesterday. Where on earth were you? Hello, darling. I'll be with you in just a minute. Vladimir. I'm your Auntie May.
Yes, it's the wacky and warm, wild and wonderful Auntie Mame, whose story shattered all bestseller records and then ran riot on stages all over the land. Auntie Mame, the name that has become a household word. And brother, what a household.
No. You do have a bust. Oh.
I want to skittle out and pay off that nice taxi man so he can get along home to his family.
You mean to say you left the taxi meter running in the middle of the Depression?
Well, ma'am, you see, I'm in oil. It just keeps on gushing. There ain't nothing I can do about it.
Live, that's the message. Live. Yes, life is a banquet, and those poor suckers are starving to death. Come on now, child, live. Live. Let's go and live.
Tomorrow morning, me, personally, am taking this boy off to boarding school. I am placing him in St. Boniface Academy, where he will stay. You will only get your depraved hands on him Christmas and summer, and I wish to heaven I could prevent that.
Auntie Mame, if you'll only give me another chance, I'll prove to
I wouldn't give you the time of day after the dirty double cross you pulled on me.
But you can't take him from me. He's all I have.
Mame, I'm sorry.
I just don't think I could bear it. I just don't.
I've never seen you cry before. Mame.
Is anything wrong, Missy Gooch? I did just what she told me. I lived. I've got to find out what to do now.
Better go see Auntie Mame.
Okay. You'd better, too. You wouldn't want to miss it for anything.
And then, Angela Lansbury was nobody's first choice for the role of Mame on Broadway. They originally thought they asked Rosalind Russell first, but she said something like she didn't want to eat last night's leftovers for breakfast. And then they thought of Judy Garland, but Judy Garland was so undependable that they knew that would be a risk. Jerry Herman was the one who wanted Angela Lansbury, changing her life and making her maybe one of the greatest Broadway stars of the last half of the 20th century.
It's great material.
Bosom buddies, friends, sisters, and pals. We'll always be bosom buddies. If life should reject you, there's me to protect you. If I say that your tongue is vicious, if I call you uncouth, it's simply that. Who else but a bosom buddy will sit down and tell you the truth? Though now and again I'm aware that my candid opinion may sting. Though often my frank observation might scald. I've been meaning to tell you for years you should keep your hair natural like mine. If I kept my hair natural like yours, I'd be bald. But, sweetie, we'll always be dear companions. My cronies, my mates. We'll always be harmonizing. Orphan Annie and Sandy, like Amos and Andy. If I say that your sense of style's as far off as your youth. It's simply that. Who else but a bosom buddy will tell you the whole stinking truth?
I feel it's my duty to tell you it's time to adjust to your age. You try to be peg of my heart when you're Lady Macbeth. Exactly. How old are you, Vera? The truth.
How old do you think?
Oh, I'd say somewhere between 40 and death.
But sweetie, I'll always be Alan Douglas if you be Gertrude Stein. And though I'll admit I've dished you, I've gossiped and gloated, but I'm so devoted.
And if I say that sex and guts made you into a star, remember that. Who else but a bosom buddy will tell you how rotten you are?
Just turn to your bosom buddy for aid and affection, for help and direction, for loyalty, love, and mercy. Remember that. Who else but a bosom buddy will take that and level and pick up the devil will sit down and tell you the truth.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this morning's discussion about plays that made it into musicals. We'll talk soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.